Hey guys, welcome back to the third episode of GUTR, Google Trends Investing. Hopefully the audio is working out pretty well for you. So I've appreciated the feedback you guys have been giving, and again, I really appreciated all the amazing support you've given for those first two videos, both the Peloton one, the first episode, and the second one last week on Square and the battle between Cash App and Venmo. If you haven't watched them, check them out, and please leave a comment. I've been trying to respond to each one of those, but we'll dive into Roku. Another app or another company that's been heavily promoted by ARK Invest and Kathy Wood and her team. So again, layering in some social arbitrage, some Google Trends information on top of that to see is the thesis of, obviously streaming as a secular trend, but the advertising revenue that has been driving Roku, how is that increasing? So again, the quick outline, we're going to go over basic adoption of kind of core Roku terms, and you can even see here that they're going in the right direction. But again, we're going to be vetting this as an operating system for televisions, a smart operating system for televisions. Talk a little bit about the dependency currently on TCL as both a pro and a con. The recent battle with Android TV being labeled as Google TV. I had labeled this as a high conviction trade back before the earnings call. It actually did drop on earnings. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And again, the main component is trying to gauge the free advertising or people using Roku for free, which is really they're paying for with advertising, and how there's probably an opportunity to continue to monetize that much from beyond where they are now. So again, looking at just this trend here, you can see the main one I'm caring about is in purple. Saved it in Roku purple for you guys. So the Roku app continuing up. We do see every year there's a seasonal bump. So in green, it's most clear Roku versus that's Roku versus Apple TV, Fire Stick. I have some tabs. We'll go into those in a second regarding those. But it really hasn't come down. So it was starting to come down. And then we have COVID here, this big spike, March 22nd. So it has stayed quite elevated since then. So if this ends up being the base and we see the holiday spike, I'll feel pretty confident about increasing my position size. But it is, I think it's my fifth or so largest position. I'll share my portfolio a little bit after this to get a sense of what I should do next. But again, Roku is on the climb. I did want to share one quick tip. Someone was asking about the plugin I have here. So it's called Keywords Everywhere. It's a free Chrome plugin, and it'll appear on any one of your any search you do, and it'll also give related searches. And people are also searching for type things. So these could be ideas for searches to do. So these are the different Roku models. So these could actually be good, interesting Google Trend searches. So if there's any other unique Google Trends searches for Roku that you're using for combinations, please let me know there. But again, the main thing I'm caring about is Roku app. So I've been really impressed by, even this kind of shows the glimpse of how big Roku app has been doing of late. So these are people that are getting the Roku device, using it as a remote on their phone, both on Google and on iOS. So some great momentum they have there. Again, a core component for me has been the realizing not Roku as the individual dongle, the HDMI dongle, but Roku as a operating system on the TCL TV, which has gotten really great reviews. I mean, a lot of people say it is the best bang for the buck device. I think CNET had it as such. So again, you see that every year there's the holiday spike that happens, but this year, again, people also got stimulus money that helped as well. So there was tweets of people saying, I think I looked at the word Best Buy and sold out, and they'd sold out of all the TVs. So basically everything was sold out, and they've got a pretty high percentage of TCL and Hisense TVs there. So again, you can see that it's still quite high, way above where it was last year. If this ends up acting as a springboard where we go even higher, I'll feel good about scaling this position. I did want to have a chance to talk about the competitors in the space. We have Apple TV, Amazon Fire, so look for the Fire colors of red and yellow, Chromecast in green, and then Roku, and I just tried to remove any reference for the word stock. So when I do a company alone, I'll probably just try to remove any chatter for the word stock. So we have seen, again, that seasonal peak, and then the valley, peak in the valley, and the peak in the valley, and it's really stayed quite a bit above this whole period of time. And there's been now separation they have, so the purple being separated from Chromecast and Apple TV. So some really positive momentum that they've been able to build. and even this is just a little more specific of people actually comparing the two devices. So, I mean, Roku is still the leader, and when people are most likely to compare Chromecast versus something, Roku versus something, Roku is one of the most commonly in that search. So Roku is definitely clear in the consideration. A main part I wanted to show too, though, is as fast as TCL is growing, which it quite clearly is. So this is showing Samsung TV 4K versus TCL 4K. So I intentionally made this a little bit more specific for Samsung to just pull their volume down a bit. But TCL TV in blue, quite high. Samsung TV in 4K is actually close. So Samsung still has a tremendous lead in the space. So, I mean, Roku, again, as just a potential acquisition target for somebody like Samsung. I know there's been rumors of Google trying to acquire them, Amazon. They definitely, again, social arb is a hard thing to consider for an acquisition target, but I think there is something going on where it's a very valuable property. I can even see like Time Warner or Comcast or somebody looking to acquire. So there's a lot of companies where it might make sense to acquire Roku. So again, I think it's a company that I want in my portfolio because there are the risks of how dependent they are as being the operating system that TCL has chosen. I know TCL has also been using Android TV, which I think is more recently rebranded as Google TV. They just released a new device, I believe, last week. So there is the reliance on the TCL, but I think people that use these TCL TVs love them. I don't happen to have one. I don't have a Roku, but I've done enough social arb researching that I'm pretty confident they are. People really like them. Let me know what you think. If you've switched to or from Roku below, if you agree with that. But even just looking for 4K TVs on Amazon, I mean, you don't have to go too far until you find a bunch that are Roku enabled. So even just quickly searching through here, there's no shortage of Roku TVs that are out there as so again, you might not even know you're buying a Roku TV when you decide to buy it, and then you end up really liking the interface. So I think I had this one here for to show on Google as well. I think actually in my last take of this one, I realized that there wasn't a Roku one on the top here, but I mean, Roku's on a hell of a lot of TVs. I think it's the main point I'm trying to get across. And you can do the Google Trends as well for just specifically Roku, the devices. So I think people are still, if they buy another TV, they're adding a Roku to it because they prefer it. So these sales are still strong. But I think that's the part that I didn't understand. That was my, that I wish I'd gotten in the stock a lot earlier if I'd realized how much it was, just the momentum that TCL had and then the reception for Roku. So I do have this component here of showing, mainly trying to show the Roku free versus Roku channel. So people using the Roku channel, it's on-demand movies, but you just have to watch ads once in a while. So that's very high margin for Roku. I know there's a big acquisition they had last year. I also had another Google Trends chart of Roku June, Roku July. So basically saying what movies are added to Roku this month, and those have been steadily increasing year over year. So again, I think there's more and more people looking to use Roku as that format. And again, there's some brand new news today of Roku channel being added onto Fire TV. So kind of, it's an interesting relationship. I think there's already been talk of the dominance that Amazon has. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why Amazon in the last month has not run up like other companies have over the last month. You can see Google, Facebook, Microsoft kind of all hovering around there, where there's been talk of, I think in some of the stimulus talk, they've wanted to include in there breaking up big tech a little bit. So coming up to the 9-minute mark, longer than I wanted to be here, but it's an interesting stock, definitely one I want in my portfolio, and these are the trends that I'm monitoring. So trying to see if the trend is still my friend, but please come back next week and let the trend be your friend. Kind of butchered the ending here, but if you made it this far, thanks. Give us a like, subscribe, a comment, feedback. Really appreciate it, guys. Peace. Catch you next time.